Next up, in one of my favorite comedies, What About Bob?, the patient, Bill Murray, says this to his shrink, Richard Dreyfuss, about what led to his divorce.
There are two types of people in this world. Those who like Neil Diamond and those who don't.
And regardless of which side you're on in that marital debate, have I got a rollicking, moving, electric night in the theater for you. A Beautiful Noise, a Broadway-bound show about the life and music of the man whose music marks the bottom of the eighth inning at Fenway, Neil Diamond. The show officially opened last Sunday night in Boston after a bunch of previews and a COVID delay. And speaking of therapists, the doctor to the older Neil Diamond, who's with us from the show's beginning to end, is played by Linda Powell, while Diamond himself is played by Will Swenson. And in the current miserable world, Sunday night at the Emerson Colonial was, no, I will not say so good, but I will think it. Those two stars recently joined me. And I'm joined by Linda Powell, also known for her work in Broadway's The Trip to Bountiful and On Golden Pond, and Will Swenson, who starred in Broadway's Waitress, Hair, and Les Miserables, just to name a few. Congratulations to both of you. I'm not a fun kind of guy. That was huge fun. Congratulations to you all.
You may not be a fun kind of guy, but that clip you just played was a fun clip.
One of the greats ever, by the way. So can you raise your right hands, please, and you say, I, Will Swenson. Go ahead. I, Will Swenson.
What am I getting into?
Well, you just do it, and I, Linda Powell, work with me here. I want you both to raise your right hand and say, before I got the part, I was a huge Neil Diamond fan. Starting with you, Will, can you make that representation?
I can do that. I grew up on him. He's literally my dad's favorite artist of all time.
Is that true?
It was in my DNA. True story.
So it was in your house when you were growing up?
On a loop. We had an autographed poster of Neil Diamond in my garage growing up, not exaggerating.
And are you singing Neil Diamond as a kid? You're from Utah, right? Is that where you're from or something?
I'm from Utah, yeah. I've sung him my whole life. I sang him in high school. I've sung him in cabarets, my whole life.
So can you make a similar representation, Linda?
I absolutely can. The soundtrack to Jonathan Livingston Seagull got me through a very torturous summer between 15 and 16. It played on a loop in my ear for about 6 months.
You know, Linda, you're the therapist to the older version of Neil Diamond, and you two were on the stage almost the whole time, sort of the frame for the thing. Mm-hmm. I'm watching you while Will is singing some raucous Diamond song. You were bopping away in your chair, and I couldn't tell if it was intentional, if it was intended, or you just couldn't control yourself. Which was it?
The moments that I bop now are intentional. The moments that I bopped during rehearsal were not intentional.
I can understand. I was doing it too, and I'm not a bopping kind of guy either. Will, how involved was Neil Diamond in the creation of this thing?
A bit. I mean, they had to obviously pitch him the idea and say, can we make a show out of your life? And so I think when they were writing the script and coming up with the overall concept, he was involved and kind of giving his okays with that. And then he would come for different versions of the development of the show. And then once we got in the rehearsal room for this go-round, he came for about a solid week and popped in and sang along with us and gave us some feedback and insights. And so he's been very involved. Did
he pick you to play him or no?
I don't know. He definitely had to sign off on me. I don't know if he picked me out of a crowd, but he definitely had to say, yeah, he's the guy.
So, Linda, getting back to you as a therapist, as a neurotic New York Jew myself by way of Philadelphia, I could relate to the I'm never good enough thing that the older Neil Diamond keeps saying to you. But as he says in the show, he was bigger than Elvis. So was the darker, tortured side, for lack of a better expression, of Neil Diamond, did that track reality as far as you know?
I think it definitely did, and he's intimated as much. And I think that when you're like a lot of famous people and people who have had storied careers like that, who then find themselves at the other side of it, I think it's not an uncommon kind of journey to go through.
Yeah, I bet that. Can we change venues from the Colonial for a second and go about a half mile away? Here's a scene at Fenway sometime in mid-June. Here it is. That would be the real Neil Diamond. next to the play Neil Diamond, Will, and obviously the cast of the thing. What was it like, Will, singing Sweet Caroline at Fenway with the man himself?
I mean, there are bucket list items you never knew were on your bucket list, and that's one of them for sure. It was insanity. It was so crazy cool.
But you weren't dripping sequins like you do in the play. Would you have been more comfortable had they've been hanging all over your body, or no?
I'm getting more used to them by the day.
They're pretty beautiful. What's it like performing Neil Diamond in front of Neil Diamond? It would seem to be absolutely terrorizing. I can't even imagine the concept.
It's a head trip, I got to tell you. I mean, singing 20 of his songs as him, with him, you know, sometimes 5 feet away from me, sometimes just in the audience. It's wild. It's definitely an out-of-body experience, but he's been incredibly, you know, generous and kind through the process.
So were you holding your breath the first time he was there while you're singing his stuff, waiting for his?
I honestly don't remember the first time. It was such an out-of-body thing. I was just like, grip it, hold it, and then.
I remember the first time that I was in the room that we did a read-through and he came. I think I turned to you, Will, and said, I'm really nervous, but I'm glad I'm not you.
So, Linda, speaking of being you and I think the mobster in this play, who had some sway over the young Neil Diamond's life when he signed his first contract with a recording company, are the only performers in the play who don't sing. Are you? I mean this sincerely. Are you not tempted to get up and join in with Will and the cast every single Neil Diamond song? Seriously.
Yes. It's part of why I get paid the big bucks is that I don't do it. And I enjoy myself when we get to come out and curtain call and I actually get to, sing along and bop. Yeah. I'm not really a singer. And so it's a thrill for me to be in a musical and experience the degree of talent that surrounds me every night. It's been a blast.
I'm not a singer either, and I was singing with the whole audience, I should say. And there was a woman, some Broadway star, sitting right in front of me, Will, who was cheering wildly for you. You should check her out at some point. She was pretty incredible. You know what I mean?
I might know who you're talking about.
You might know who you're talking. So the first act ends with this wild version of Sweet Caroline. The place goes totally berserk. And I have to tell the truth, I'm not crazy about it at Fenway. It was out of control fabulous at the theater. There is no way you're closing the first act in New York City when you go to Broadway with Sweet Caroline. Are you or are you?
I think that's the plan, as long as we can, get it out without the audience taking over.
Yeah, or attacking the cast. So you've been in Boston a little bit. I know there was a COVID interruption, that kind of thing. Starting with you, Linda, what's the best thing, most fun thing you've done in Boston other than the play itself?
Well, I have to say Fenway Park was a pretty big deal. Yeah. And then also I'm staying on Beacon Hill, so I walk through the Commons and the
beautiful?
park every day to go to work. That's been just a lovely plus.
How about you, Will?
My entire extended family came out for opening, so it was great to spend a lot of time with folks I don't get to see a lot, and going on duck tours and doing the very Boston stereotypical things has been a ball.
Well, we're lucky to have you. Will Swenson, Linda Powell. The thing is just spectacular. I urge everybody to go for a great time. Thanks so much for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I wish we could have shown you a taste of the spectacular performances by those two and the rest of the crew are giving night after night, but unfortunately, weren't able to get our hands on them. You'll just have to take my word for it, or better yet, go see it yourself. And by the way, if Linda Powell looks familiar, that may be because she's the daughter of the late Secretary of State Colin Powell. And speaking of family connections, the aforementioned Broadway star who I mentioned was cheering wildly for Will in the seat in front of me on opening night. That'd be none other than the legendary 6-time Tony winner, Audra McDonald, who just so happens to be Will's wife. And her excitement was only rivaled by these fans a few performances earlier when Neil Diamond himself walked into the theater for the first night of previews. It must have felt, well, this time I will say it, so good.